of the yesteryear. So look at the kind of decimation that has happened. Okay, decimation is a too strong a word, but the correction that has happened in some of the green energy related or the wind energy related companies, right? Inox Wind Energy, Suzlon, down today, down over the last few days. I mean, and this whole energy and enthusiasm around these stocks has completely gotten smashed. But the stories are good. Now, the question is, usually companies get into a time correction. These guys have gotten into a price correction. Aditya Shah, what do you do with some of these? Because their quarterly results, in all probability, will still look good. Is this correction now taking care of the excess valuation, or do you still find them expensive? If you did in the first place, of course.
Neeraj, I had written yesterday or day before yesterday on Vare Energies, which is into solar panels and solar cells per se. And I had written that there is a risk that is evolving in the United States for all of these companies, which is that Donald Trump will come in and put in a whole host of tariffs in order to protect the U.S. domestic producers. And that risk is particularly rampant for Vare, for Premier, for all of those companies who are into green energy exports per se into the US. So I think that the market is now settling into that risk and that uncertainty. If you hear the con call and the management commentary into all of these companies, you hear that the management themselves are really very cautious on making any investments in the United States per se. So my perspective will be if these stocks are trading at expensive valuations, and if there is an adverse reaction from the US in terms of imposing of tariffs, there could be a real problem for most of these companies. And I don't like the valuations at which many of these companies are really trading. Particularly on the wind energy side of it, we've seen Suzlon go right up from about 10 to 12 rupees to about 50 to 70 rupees. A correction was warranted, even though the growth on Suzlon is really very good. All of this has been triggered by the change in the bidding tendering process that the government has really undertaken. And at some point in time, many other companies will start to flock into this system, and they will also be the sector will also be looking at overcapacity as the solar sector will also see. So my advice is again, long-term story, definitely in next 10, 20, 25, 30 years story, green energy, but the valuations at which you are entering do warrant a time correction in the shorter term. And I will not be buying into any of the green energy stocks. Still, I will wait for these stocks to at least come to a decent valuation. Let me take an example. While it right now trades at about 80 times multiple, last quarter was the first quarter when it reported its numbers. The revenue growth was at about 2%. Capacities are coming up in 24 and 25, where the growth will come up to 20 or 20, 25, 30%. However, if the market is giving it a 80 multiple today, what warrants that the valuation cannot come down and come down to 60 times or 50 times for that matter? So valuations are aggressive. Short term avoid, longer term definitely keeping all of these stocks on the radar.
Okay.